The storm was a fury of wind and salt. The Magnolia deepwater platform groaned under 60-foot waves, its floodlights cutting orange tunnels through the rain. Through the clouds, the raider skiffs descended like silver beetles, their headlamps slicing the dark.
Just a civilian rig, no guards, no weapons. This will be over in minutes. We drop, grab anything valuable, and pull out before dawn. They won't even know what hit them.
They rappelled onto the helideck, but the steel was coated in rain and hydraulic oil. The first two raiders never even got their weapons raised. One raider's boots skidded out from under him, his arms flailing. He hit the edge before anyone could react, and then he was gone. The black ocean swallowed him without a trace.
Commander, we've lost 2 men before we've even seen a human.
That's when the humans showed up. A single figure in an orange poncho emerged from the rain, unconcerned by the chaos around him.
You are on Magnolia. I am Brian Oakes, shift supervisor. The storm is getting worse. I strongly suggest you get back on your skiffs.
Commander Joshua stared for a beat, then burst out laughing. The sound was harsh and mocking. His surviving soldiers followed suit, a worker telling them to leave. Inside the rig, the corridor was a hissing maze of steam pipes and flickering yellow lights. The raiders crept forward, weapons raised at every shadow.
How do these primitives move in this? I can't see 3 meters. Everything is wet, and it stinks of oil.
The raider in front stepped onto a metal grate. Rusted bolts sheared with a scream. His leg punched through the floor, the grating swallowing him to the hip.
Commander, another one down. The floor just collapsed under Krav. His leg is shattered.
Before Joshua could answer, a heavy chain on an overhead hoist broke free. It swung like a pendulum, catching a second raider full across the helmet with a sickening crack.
Sir, we're being picked off. This rig is a death trap. Every step, something else goes wrong. We haven't even seen the crew.
Joshua's hand trembled on the comm control. This was not a raid. This was butchery by the environment itself. A tool, a massive pipe wrench, fell from a catwalk above, glancing off a raider's shoulder armor and sending him sprawling into a bulkhead.
Fall back. Everyone back to the helideck now. Do not engage anyone. Just get out of this maze.
The raiders scrambled back through the twisting corridors, slipping on oil-slick deck plates, their breath ragged. The rig itself had become the hunter, and they were prey. The remaining raiders burst back onto the open helideck, rain lashing their armor. They threw themselves behind cargo containers, forming a ragged defensive line.
Humans, we have the deck. Drop your tools and come out for processing. You are outmatched. Resist and we'll burn this rig.
The interior hatch creaked open. Brian Oakes stepped out alone, his skull-painted face unreadable. Behind him, in the yellow-lit doorway, 43 roughnecks formed a wall of silhouettes.
You've already lost 6 men to the deck and the chains. You want to lose another 40 to my wrench.
Commander, there's over 40 of them, and they're all huge. They're not running, sir. They're smiling.
Lower the weapons. This storm's only getting worse. We can settle this inside, warm and dry.
They are not afraid. They should be begging. Why isn't he afraid? Stand down. Weapons low. What do you propose, human?
Brian jerked a thumb toward a massive circular steel hatch welded into the rig's superstructure, its yellow warning labels flapping in the wind.
That's our saturation chamber. It's sealed, pressurized, and safe from the storm. You'll ride out the worst in there as our guests.
The raiders filed into the cramped saturation chamber, its bunks and monitoring gear pressed tight against curved steel walls. The air smelled of recycled oxygen and machine oil.
Get comfortable. The storm's only getting worse. You'll be safe in here.
The heavy hatch swung shut with a finality that echoed through the deck. Outside, a crew member's gloved hand wrapped around a red pressure wheel and began to turn. A sharp hiss of compressed air filled the chamber. The digital readout on the wall flickered. 1.2 atmospheres, 1.5, climbing. The air grew heavy, pressing against their lungs. One soldier doubled over, clutching his stomach. The atmosphere was becoming a solid weight.
Commander, my skull. It feels like it's in a vice. I can't think.
Joshua's hydrostatic shield crackled. a blue nimbus flickering as it tried to compensate. With a dying whine, the shield collapsed. Sergeant Vex dropped to his knees, green blood streaming from both nostrils. His breathing turned to ragged gasps.
Oaks, you said this was shelter. The pressure is crushing us.
3.2 atmospheres. We run higher than that when we're sleeping. You'll adjust, or you won't. Either way, sit tight.
The digital readout continued to climb. The chamber now sat at 3.8 atmospheres. On the other side of the glass, Brian leaned into the intercom.
You called us civilians, but we're saturation divers. We live at pressures that would pop your eyes out. 300 meters down is our office.
A rapid memory flickered on the screen behind his shoulder, footage from a camera drone. A human diver in the crushing dark of the seabed, welding a pipe with calm, steady hands.
At 300 meters, the pressure is 30 atmospheres. Your bones would liquefy at 3. We do full shifts there and come up for coffee.
A holographic chart materialized on the intercom screen, comparing human tolerance to known species. The red line marked Velrath bone liquefaction threshold, 2.3 atmospheres. The chamber indicator was at 3.8.
We were so wrong. These aren't soft civilians. They're shaped by a world that murders us just standing still.
Outside the chamber, a crew member in greasy overalls strolled past the window, sipping a steaming mug. He glanced at the suffering raiders and kept walking.
We've got 43 men and women on this rig from 12 nations. Not a soldier among them, but every one of them can take 3 times your lethal pressure before breakfast.
Inside the chamber, a raider slumped unconscious. Others tried to shake him awake, their movements slow and labored. Joshua's hand slid from the window. His legs gave way, and he sank against the steel wall, the realization hollowing out his chest. They were not the predators here. On the open deck, a human roughneck walked a catwalk 60 meters above the sea, the wind battering him sideways. He leaned into it like an old friend, checking a valve without a harness. Inside the break room, 5 crew members played cards and laughed. Through the window, a lightning strike split the sky. No one looked up.
You see that? 50-knot winds and 100-foot waves. We call that Tuesday.
Inside the chamber, 3 more raiders convulsed and went limp. The floor was a tangle of bodies, the pressure display still read 3.8.
My spine. I can feel my spine grinding. Help us, please.
Oaks, I'll do whatever you want. Just lower the pressure, please.
I can cycle down the pressure, but you don't get that for free. You came here to loot and kill.
Then what? What's the price? Gold, tech, we'll empty our holes. And let the hills will empty our holes.
Broadcast a message. Tell your faction Magnolia is off limits. Every raider who hears it knows this rig eats crews like yours. That's the price.
Silence. Joshua stared at the intercom, the weight of Brian's words settling on him like the pressure itself. There was no negotiation. Only terms.
My career ends with this order, but if I refuse, we're dead in minutes. They already are.
The pressure reached 4.0. A wet crack echoed through the chamber. One raider convulsed and went still, green fluid pooling from his ear slits.
I'll do it. I'll broadcast your warning. Just stop the pressure, Oaks.
Good. We start decompression now. 12 hours to 1 atmosphere. If any of you twitch, the valve slams shut.
The hiss of gas reversed. Slowly, the chamber pressure began to unwind, each tenth of an atmosphere a mercy to the broken raiders.
Is it? Going away? I can almost think again.
You'll live, barely. Now keep your end. Broadcast it wide.
All raider vessels. This is Commander Joshua. Magnolia platform is a death trap. Avoid at all costs. Repeat, avoid.
The message bled out across the raider frequencies, a blaring warning that would soon be carved into every data slate in the faction. The decompression cycle hummed on, and the raiders' agony slowly eased. But the lesson was already burned into their bones. Humans owned this pressure, and they would never forget. 12 hours passed in the hum of the pressure release. The chamber display slowly dropped to 1 atmosphere. Inside, the raiders lay curled like broken animals, their bodies wrecked by the weight of 4 atmospheres. The hatch hissed open. A wave of stench, green blood, and recycled fear rolled out. Crew members in yellow rain gear hauled away the 4 who hadn't made it, their limbs flopping like empty gloves.
You are breathing. That's more than 4 of yours managed. Now, walk to the helideck. Your skiff is waiting.
The surviving raiders stumbled out, clutching each other. Their limbs shook from hours of pressure torture. Not a human hand reached to help. The roughnecks simply parted, emotionless.
Why didn't you just kill us all? It would have been easier.
Dead raiders don't spread warnings. You are more useful alive. Telling your kind what happens when you touch our rigs.
We'll honor the warning. I never want to see this place again.
Brian watched from the bridge as the skiff rose vertically, its engines whining against the dawn. He lifted his coffee mug in a silent gesture, then turned back to the control board without a word. The skiff dwindled to a speck and vanished. Below, the rig crew hosed blood off the deck, the rain having finally stopped. Magnolia returned to business. In a Concord intelligence hub, an analyst sifted through the Magnolia incident report. Bodycam footage showed raiders collapsing at 3.8 atmospheres. Data tables illuminated the screen. Velrath bone liquefaction at 2.3 atmospheres. The chamber had held steady at 4.0. Humans tolerated 30 atmospheres. The average galactic infantryman would die at 4. Their entire species was a pressure weapon. The report reached the Concord Military Council. 7 species stared at the data. The conclusion was unanimous. By the end of the session, every deepwater platform on Earth was reclassified. Strategic reserves of pressure-adapted personnel. A formal declaration was drafted. A Concord Medal of Galactic Valor was struck for the Magnolia crew, the first ever awarded to civilians. The reclassification order propagated across all military channels. Every tactical map now blinked with a warning. Do not engage Earth platforms. Commanders updated invasion protocols. No one would make the mistake of boarding a human rig again. The medal launched in a courier drone toward Earth. The crew would not know it was coming and would not have cared. On Magnolia, coffee steamed in the break room. Cards shuffled. The galaxy had just learned a new word. Roughneck. A courier drone descended through clear morning sky. A small package clutched in its claws. It set down on the helideck with a soft thump, then zipped away.
What's this? Package from the Concord. Open it up.
Inside lay a heavy, polished metal bearing an alien inscription, Galactic Valor. It glinted under the fluorescent lights.
Says, for peerless resilience and the unparalleled defense of sovereign territory. Sound about right, boys? Well, it's shiny, good paperweight.
A roughneck across the table didn't even look up. He slid his chipped Magnolia Deepwater mug onto the metal, trapping it under a ring of old coffee. Laughter erupted. The Medal of Galactic Valor, the highest honor the Concord could bestow, was now a coaster.
That's right. Put it to work. Now, who's dealing?
The medal stayed there through the next 3 shifts, accumulating rings, burns, and the sticky residue of 1,000 card games. No one ever mentioned it again. The galaxy's highest award was just another piece of rig furniture. Alien news networks erupted with the Magnolia footage. Holographic headlines screamed in a dozen languages. Pressure-proof humans terrify raiders, and anchors translated voiceover. The galaxy's new super soldiers aren't soldiers at all. They're miners, and they drink coffee at deadly depths. Military analysts debated in circles. If humans can survive 30 atmospheres, what chance does ground infantry have? A crude holographic meme appeared on the extranet. Brian's skull-painted face with the caption, "Pressure Daddy." It spread faster than any strategic report. On Magnolia, the crew ate microwave dinners. The intergalactic panic was just static on a distant frequency, unheard over the clatter of forks. The strategic map of Earth now bore stark new markers. Every deepwater platform a flashing red diamond with the caption, "Strategic Reserve." Do not engage. A raider captain's log entry. Since leaked. Avoid Earth platforms at all costs. The pressure-adaptive threat level exceeds all known infantry. Not worth the casualties. The Concord Council formally updated invasion protocols. A new line was added to every commander's briefing. Human rigs are not targets. They are traps. The legend of the Roughnecks grew in every corner of known space. But on the rig, Brian poured another cup and turned back to the control board. The galaxy talked. Magnolia worked, and the metal under the mug collected a fresh ring. Aboard a sterile medical frigate, Commander Joshua lay in a recovery berth, tubes running from his scaled arms. The decompression damage would take months to heal.
Personal log, Commander Joshua. The most terrifying thing about humans is not their strength, it's their indifference to environments that kill. We laughed at a worker in a storm, a worker who sleeps at pressure that liquefies our bones. He wasn't even armed. The environment was his weapon.
A flash of memory. His own barking laughter on the rain-lashed helideck, now a knife twisting in his gut.
Avoid Earth's deep waters. Any raider who ignores this warning will share my fate or worse. They don't even see us as a threat. We're just an inconvenience.
Within hours, the official debrief was filed, stamped with his command code. His voice cracked, but the data was iron. The Raider database updated with a new threat classification. Pressure-adapted humans, imminent lethality. Do not approach offshore platforms.
My career ended the moment I laughed at Brian Oakes. Now the galaxy laughs at me.
But the warning outlived his disgrace. In Raider academies, his log would play for cadets as a lesson in humility and terror. Human rigs were now marked with skulls on every chart. The lesson was written in bone and pressure. The Roughnecks didn't care. A civilian helicopter descended through clear sky, its rotors chopping the morning air. The new rotation hopped out, duffel bags swinging, eyes wide at the rig's enormity. Inside the break room, a grizzled veteran spread his arms like a monster, regaling the newcomers with the tale. And then the chamber hit 4 atmospheres. 4. Their eyes bulged and one just popped. The veterans howled.
You newbies, listen up. Don't touch the red valves. Watch your step on the gratings, and if you see an alien, just point them to me. The work's the same. Pressure, oil and coffee. That metal over there under the mug, that's from the last crew who tried something. Don't be like them.
The new rotation glanced at the saturation chamber hatch with fresh reverence. That unremarkable steel had crushed alien bones. Soon, the newbies were on deck, learning the muscle memory of a rig hand, the lean into wind, the scan for slip hazards. By end of shift, the story had settled into their bones alongside the ache of real work. They were part of the legend now, whether they wanted it or not.
All right, enough stories. We got a full shift tomorrow. Pressure doesn't pump itself.
Magnolia kept spinning. The Roughnecks kept roughnecking. And somewhere out in the black, another Raider captain pulled up a chart and swore, turning away. A Raider corvette dropped out of FTL, Earth's blue crescent filling its viewport. The captain's mandibles clicked with anticipation. Easy pickings, he thought. Scanners lit with red diamonds. Every offshore platform blinked with the Concorde's new classification, Strategic Reserve. Do not engage. The captain pulled up the attached advisory, a personal log from one Commander Joshua. The audio crackled to life. Joshua's broken voice. They are not soldiers. They're miners, and they laugh at pressure that liquefies our bones. Avoid Earth's deep waters. The captain's 4-fingered hands tightened on the console. Half his crew would die at 4 atmospheres. These humans thrived at 30. He glanced at the nearest rig on the tactical display, a tiny speck that suddenly seemed to yawn like a pit. He barked an order to navigation. The tone was sharp, edged with something his crew had never heard before. Genuine fear. The corvette's engines flared, pulling away from Earth. The tactical screen updated. Contact lost. As the ship jumped to FTL, the captain recorded a single line in his log, which would leak within days. The deterrent held. One more Raider captain had learned the lesson the hard way, by the fear of someone else's bones. Shift over. Brian Oakes leaned on the stern railing. The twilight sea was a dark mirror, the rig's floodlights flickering on. He let the salt wind scrub his thoughts. Somewhere in the black, Raiders still ran from a warning he'd spoken.
Pressure daddy. They made a meme out of my face. Ridiculous. They have no idea it's just Tuesday to us. I remember Joshua's laugh, how fast it died when the bones started cracking.
A quick memory, the chamber window, green faces pressed against glass, terror beyond words.
They were so afraid. I could see their bones straining, and I was just leaning on the intercom, keeping a door closed.
He thought of the divers he trained, men and women, who went into murderous dark without a second thought.
Not soldiers, just roughnecks. We weld pipes, eat microwave dinners, sleep hard. The pressure does the rest.
He pushed off the railing and walked inside. The coffee would be fresh, the crew loud with laughter.
Tomorrow's another shift. I never asked for a medal, just a mug that don't leak.
The barometer dropped, and another storm line swallowed the horizon. On deck, roughnecks pulled on rain gear, their movements slow and practiced. A welder sparked to life. Someone checked a pressure gauge, a crane lifted pipe. The routine was the same. The weather was just background noise.
Read 'em and weep. 8 high straight. Guess the aliens aren't the only ones who choke under pressure.
The metal under the mug caught the lamplight, its inscription already worn by coffee rings. No one noticed. Outside, a figure in orange leaned into the wind on the catwalk, checking a valve 60 meters above the sea, unconcerned. Through the rain-streaked window, the break room sat empty for shift change, the metal under the mug a silent monument to a war no one bothered to remember. Magnolia kept turning. The flare stack burned off gas. The galaxy's most dangerous personnel simply clocked out for the night. The storm grew, but the rig ignored it, like it had for decades, like it would for decades more. It didn't care about metals, or fear, or alien invasions. It just kept turning pressure into oil, and the roughnecks, the creatures who lived where pressure kills worlds, just poured another cup deep in contested space. Inside a Raider military academy, a room full of young cadets sat in total darkness. The air stank of nervous sweat. Their instructor projected a file marked Doctrine Oblige. The image of Commander Joshua, hollow-eyed and broken, filled the wall. Joshua's voice, recorded from a medical bed, crackled through the speakers. The most terrifying thing about humans is their indifference to environments that kill. The room held its breath. Then the hologram shifted to a map of Earth, its deep-water platforms blinking like red skulls. The instructor stepped into the light. His voice was a hammer. These are not targets. They are graves. A cadet near the front felt his throat tighten. The warning was no longer a file. It was a vision of his own death. The instructor zoomed in on Magnolia. The icon pulsed, a tiny red monster. One of you asked what prize lies there. The only prize is a coffin. The map expanded to show all Earth's rigs, each marked with a skull. The cadets saw a planetary defense deeper than any fleet. The lesson was simple. Avoid at all costs. The corridor outside the classroom suddenly felt like a pressurized tomb. When the projector clicked off, no one moved. The silence stretched, heavy as the pressure the warning described. In a weathered dockside bar in Corpus Christi, a woman in her 60s nursed a long neck. The window faced the Gulf, the horizon a line of steel rigs. She scrolled through a news tablet, pausing on an article, Galactic Valor awarded to Earth platform crew. The photo was grainy, but she knew the silhouette. The article described pressure-adapted super soldiers and strategic reserves. She snorted into her beer. She enlarged the photo. Brian's broad shoulders, the skull paint smeared, the wrench on his shoulder. "That's my boy," she murmured, always showing off. She raised her bottle toward the screen, toward the rig she couldn't see but knew was out there. A silent toast. The bartender, wiping glasses, caught the gesture. "Good news?" he asked. She just smiled, eyes still on the photo. "He's just doing his job." The bartender nodded, not understanding, and moved on. The woman stayed, the tablet glowing, the Gulf darkening. Outside the window, a distant flare stack burned against the twilight, same as it had for decades. Same as it would. She finished her beer and set the bottle down on the tablet. Right over the photo, the way a mug sits on a certain metal. Dawn cracked the horizon over the Magnolia deepwater platform, painting the sea in veins of gold and rose. The storm was a memory. The night shift filed inside, their boots heavy, their faces smeared with salt and satisfaction. They barely glanced at the horizon they'd weathered. The day shift emerged, a fresh crew of roughnecks, steaming mugs in hand. They moved to their stations with the ease of long practice. On the bridge, a familiar shadow leaned over a console, checking pressures, sipping black coffee. Just another morning. The flare stack burned off excess gas, a constant flame visible for miles. The rig breathed, the machinery hummed, the oil kept flowing. Below, the massive legs anchored into the seabed, indifferent to current or storm. They had held for decades, through hurricanes and raider invasions alike. This was their home. Not a military outpost, not a strategic asset. A workplace where men and women did the impossible as a Tuesday chore. And as the sun climbed higher, the legend faded into the ordinary. The galaxy could be afraid. Magnolia just worked. Over the image, a title slowly emerges in clean, bold lettering, as if the rig itself were speaking the only truth that mattered. The words settled over the water. They lived where pressure kills worlds. Then, slowly, the screen dissolves to black. A dark chamber hummed with neon light. 7 alien representatives sat, a holographic Earth spinning in their midst. An insectoid diplomat rose, its carapace gleaming. Human, deep-water platforms, level 9 hazard, untouchable in perpetuity. The words hung in the air. A holographic engraving etched the decree into the record. In the back, a human delegate in a plain jacket leaned against the wall. He'd been silent all session. Now, a smile crept onto his face. He bit his lip to suppress it, but the corners of his mouth twitched. The vote was fast. Species after species signaled approval, carried unanimously, the chair announced. The human delegate coughed. The council moved to trade disputes, but the holographic Earth still rotated. Rigs pulsing red, fade to black. A quiet chuckle from the human's corner was the last sound. On Magnolia's break room table, under a chipped mug, the Concord medal gathered dust and coffee rings. The mug's slogan read, "Magnolia Deepwater. We don't do easy." A bald statement of fact. The camera slowly drew back. The break room was empty, the card game long finished. Through the window, the storm had passed. The sea was a black mirror, the rig's lights steady. The rig hummed its eternal song of steel and pressure, a sound as constant as the tides. The metal's inscription was almost illegible now, worn by countless mugs and the oil-stained hands that set them there. But it didn't matter. No one here needed a medal to know what they were. They were roughnecks. They worked where the pressure kills worlds, and they didn't do easy. The rig's heartbeat was the only commendation they cared about, and it never stopped beating. Fade to black. The screen remained black for a long moment, the after-image of the rig still burning in the mind. Then the title emerged, letter by letter. They attacked an Earth oil rig. The crew lived where pressure kills worlds. Beneath it, a simple line, smaller but sure, an HFY Sci-Fi story. The words held steady, as unyielding as the rig that inspired them. For 3 full seconds, the screen demanded nothing but acknowledgement of what had been told. Then, as softly as it had come, the title dissolved into the darkness. The screen returned to black, leaving only the echo of the ocean and the distant hum of the platform. There was no voiceover, no credit roll, only silence, heavy with salt and satisfaction. The video reached its end, not with a bang, but with the steady breath of a rig that never stopped working. And then, simply nothing.